Have you ever wondered why Jesus didn't say, "Worship me from a distance" or "Obey these rules I'm giving you," but instead offered the simple yet profound invitation, "Follow me"? Those two words contain a revolutionary truth that most people have completely missed for centuries, and once you truly understand what Jesus meant by this call, everything about your spiritual journey transforms in ways you never imagined possible. Has this ever happened to you? You've read those words countless times in Scripture, heard them preached from pulpits, seen them on inspirational posters, yet something always felt incomplete about the traditional interpretation. You were told that following Jesus meant adopting certain behaviors, attending services regularly, or believing the right doctrines. But deep down, didn't you sense there was something more, something far more profound, hidden within this invitation that could actually change how you experience every single moment of your existence? What if I told you that when Jesus said, "Follow me," he wasn't recruiting members for a new religion or building an organization of devoted followers who would simply mimic his actions? He was revealing a completely different way of being in the world, a path of internal transformation that has nothing to do with external conformity and everything to do with awakening to a truth that changes everything. Most people have approached this call from entirely the wrong perspective, treating it as an obligation, a command to be obeyed out of duty or fear. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. Here's what makes this understanding so radical. When you look closely at how Jesus walked through the world, you notice something remarkable that separates him from almost every other spiritual seeker you've ever encountered. He never begged. He never pleaded with the divine for intervention. He never approached spirituality from that desperate, grasping place of separation and lack that characterizes so much of traditional religious practice. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover might completely reshape not just how you understand this ancient invitation, but how you experience your entire relationship with the divine, with yourself, and with the very nature of spiritual transformation. Most spiritual seekers have been conditioned to approach their journey from a position of emptiness, constantly reaching for something outside themselves, treating the divine as distant and separate, begging for guidance like orphans pleading with a stranger. But when Jesus extended that invitation, "Follow me," he was demonstrating something entirely different. He walked with unwavering confidence, spoke with absolute certainty, and moved through the world from a place of complete wholeness. This wasn't arrogance or spiritual pride. This was the natural expression of someone who understood a profound truth about the path itself, a truth that most people have entirely missed. And this truth holds the key to understanding what really happens inside you when you finally grasp why Jesus said these two simple yet transformative words. This is where the entire paradigm shifts, and it's a shift that changes everything about your spiritual journey. You see, the traditional approach to spirituality has conditioned most of us to follow from a position of emptiness, as if we're fundamentally broken beings, desperately trying to reach some distant state of perfection that always seems just beyond our grasp. We've been taught to see ourselves as incomplete, flawed, separated from something we need to attain through years of disciplined effort and spiritual practice. But here's the revolutionary truth hidden within Jesus' invitation that transforms everything. When he said, "Follow me," he wasn't speaking to broken people who needed fixing. He was addressing whole beings who had simply forgotten their wholeness. This isn't just semantics or positive thinking. This is a complete transformation of the foundation upon which your entire spiritual journey is built. The journey isn't about becoming something you're not. It's about unveiling what you already are beneath all. The layers of conditioning and false beliefs about yourself. Think about the profound impact of this shift in mindset. When you follow from a place of lack, every step feels like a struggle. Every practice feels like effort. Every day feels like you're climbing an impossible mountain. But when you understand that Jesus' call assumes your completeness, your wholeness, your inherent connection to the divine, the entire journey transforms from exhausting struggle into natural unfolding. You stop fighting against yourself and start allowing what's already present to emerge. This hidden truth reveals something even more profound about the path itself. Most religious teachings have presented following Jesus as an achievement-based journey, a path of endless striving where you must earn divine favor through correct behavior, perfect attendance, flawless obedience. But behind the scenes of Jesus' actual message was something completely different. He wasn't offering another system where you work your way up to spiritual worthiness. He was revealing that the kingdom, that divine consciousness, that connection you're seeking is already within you, already present, already accessible right now in this very moment. Following him means recognizing this truth, not achieving it through decades of spiritual gymnastics. This is the game-changing revelation that shifts your entire experience from exhausting effort to restful knowing. You're not trying to get somewhere you're not. You're recognizing where you already are. The decisions you make from this understanding create completely different results than decisions made from a consciousness of separation and lack. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring what happens when you truly grasp that following Jesus isn't about external imitation, but internal recognition. When this understanding begins to take root in your consciousness, you start to notice how different Jesus' approach was from virtually every other spiritual teacher or religious leader throughout history. He didn't establish elaborate rituals you must perform to prove your devotion. He didn't create complex theological systems you must master to demonstrate your understanding. If this shift in perspective is resonating with something deep inside you right now, write in the comments, "I'm recognizing, not achieving." Instead, he did something far more radical. He invited you to walk in the same consciousness he embodied, to experience reality from the same awareness of divine connection that flowed through every word he spoke and every action he took. This is where most traditional interpretations have missed the entire point. To truly follow Jesus means to walk in the consciousness he demonstrated, not merely to admire it from a safe distance or worship it as something unattainable. Jesus lived from a complete awareness of oneness with the divine source. Every decision he made, every word he spoke, every healing he performed, flowed from this recognition. And here's the transformation that happens when you finally grasp what follow me really means. Your prayers shift from desperate pleas to conscious recognition. You stop begging an external deity for intervention and start acknowledging the divine presence that's already flowing through your very existence. Your spiritual practice evolves from struggling and striving to allowing and receiving. Your entire experience transforms from fighting against life to flowing with divine intelligence. This isn't just theory or beautiful spiritual poetry. This is a practical shift that creates tangible impact in how you navigate every aspect of your daily reality. Behind the scenes of Jesus' life and ministry was this unwavering consciousness of unity with the Source. He never wavered from this awareness, never doubted this connection, never questioned his relationship with the divine. And when he extended that invitation to follow him, he was inviting you into that same consciousness, that same experience, that same relationship. Think about what Jesus actually demonstrated through his actions and teachings. He wasn't setting himself up as an object of worship from a distance. He was revealing a universal truth about the nature of reality itself. When he declared, "I and my Father are one," most people heard this as an exclusive claim, something that separated Jesus from everyone else, something that made him fundamentally different from ordinary humanity. But this completely misses the revolutionary revelation hidden within those words. Jesus was showing you the path, illuminating the way, demonstrating the relationship with the divine that is available to everyone who truly follows. This wasn't an exclusive claim meant to elevate him above all others. It was an invitation to recognize the same oneness within yourself as you walk the path he illuminated. The journey he's calling you to isn't about achieving some special status or earning a privileged relationship with the divine. It's about recognizing what's already true, what's always been true, what exists beneath the surface of your everyday awareness. If you're not already part of this community, I invite you to subscribe and join us on this journey of spiritual awakening. We explore these profound truths that liberate us from limitation and reveal the divine consciousness available to all of us. This understanding completely revolutionizes what it means to follow. You're not following someone who's fundamentally different from you, separated by an unbridgeable gap. You're following someone who's showing you your own true nature, your own divine connection, your own relationship with the source of all existence. The mindset shift here is profound because it changes following from external imitation to internal recognition. When this revelation begins to take root in your consciousness, something remarkable starts to happen in your daily experience. The distinction between the sacred and the ordinary begins to dissolve. You start recognizing divine presence not just in special spiritual moments, but woven through the fabric of everyday life. If you've ever experienced even a brief moment of this profound sense of unity with all of life, type in the comments, "I've felt this oneness." This brings us to perhaps the most profound revelation hidden within Jesus' invitation, and it's a truth that changes everything about how you understand what following actually means. You see, follow me doesn't mean to chase after an external historical figure who lived 2,000 years ago in ancient Palestine. It means to follow the Christ consciousness that Jesus embodied, which is the same divine awareness that exists within you right now in this very moment. You're not pursuing someone outside yourself. You're awakening to the eternal truth that he demonstrated and that lives within your own being. This distinction is absolutely crucial because it shifts the entire journey from external to internal, from historical to eternal, from impossible to immediately accessible. Most people have spent their entire spiritual lives trying to follow someone they can never reach. Someone separated from them by time, culture, and what they believe is an unbridgeable gap of spiritual attainment. But the hidden truth behind Jesus' invitation is that he was pointing you inward, not outward. He was illuminating a path to discover what already exists within the depths of your own consciousness. Let me share a powerful metaphor that makes this crystal clear. When Jesus said, "Follow me," imagine he was like a wave showing other waves how to recognize they're made of ocean. Think about that image for a moment. A wave doesn't follow another wave by trying to become that specific wave. That would be impossible and completely miss the point. Instead, a wave follows by recognizing the oceanic nature they both share, by awakening to the reality that they're not separate entities at all, but different expressions of the same water, the same substance, the same source. Following Jesus works exactly the same way. You're not trying to become Jesus or replicate his specific life circumstances or historical context. You're recognizing the same divine substance flowing through your life that flowed through his. You're awakening to the same source he embodied. The transformation happens not through imitation, but through recognition. This shift in mindset changes everything about how you make decisions, how you approach challenges, how you experience your daily reality. Behind the scenes of every authentic spiritual awakening is this fundamental recognition that what you're seeking isn't somewhere else or in someone else. It's the very essence of your own being, waiting to be acknowledged and allowed to express. The impact of this understanding ripples through every aspect of your life because you stop searching externally and start recognizing internally. You stop trying to achieve a spiritual status and start allowing your true nature to emerge. The journey transforms from exhausting pursuit to joyful discovery. You're not climbing towards something you don't have. You're diving deeper into what you've always been. This is why Jesus could confidently say, "Follow me," without any elaborate instructions or complex systems. He was pointing to something so fundamental, so essential, so intrinsic to your very existence, that once you see it, everything else falls into place naturally. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring what actually happens in your practical, everyday experience when you begin to live from this understanding. When you stop following an external ideal and start recognizing the divine consciousness within, your entire approach to life's challenges transforms in ways that are both subtle and profound. If this understanding is shifting something in how you see your spiritual journey, write in the comments, "Following from within." The great mystics and spiritual teachers throughout history understood something profound about this path that most people completely overlook. When you truly follow Jesus in the way he intended, not as external imitation but as internal recognition, something remarkable happens. You begin to dissolve the root cause of all human suffering, which is the belief in separation from Source. This isn't just philosophical theory. This is the practical transformation that changes how you experience every single moment of your existence. Think about it. Almost every form of human suffering traces back to this fundamental belief that we're somehow disconnected, cut off, separated from the divine source of life itself. We feel alone in our struggles. We experience lack and limitation as our default reality. We approach life from a mindset of scarcity, constantly worried that there isn't enough, that we aren't enough, that we need to fight and grasp and control to survive. But when you follow from the consciousness Jesus demonstrated, this entire foundation shifts beneath your feet. You stop approaching life from scarcity and limitation because you recognize that you're not a separate entity trying to extract resources from an indifferent universe. You're an expression of the divine flow itself. You stop begging for what you need as though addressing a distant deity who may or may not respond to your pleas. Instead, you begin receiving naturally from the divine flow that is your actual nature and inheritance. The decisions you make from this consciousness create completely different results because they emerge from abundance rather than desperation, from trust rather than fear, from recognition rather than seeking. This transformation becomes most evident in one of the most fundamental spiritual practices, prayer. Following Jesus completely revolutionizes how you pray, and this shift reveals whether you truly understand what he meant by "follow me." Look at how most people pray. They approach it from separation, from lack, from a position of powerlessness. They beg an external deity for intervention, pleading for help as though divine assistance is something that might be granted or denied based on the quality of their petition. But Jesus never prayed like that. He never begged. He never pleaded from a place of disconnection. Instead, he acknowledged divine presence right where he stood, in that very moment, in that specific situation. His prayers weren't desperate attempts to get God's attention. They were powerful recognitions of what was already present. When you truly follow this example, when you begin to pray from the consciousness he demonstrated, everything about your spiritual connection transforms. Prayer evolves from desperate plea to powerful recognition. This isn't just changing your words or adopting a new technique. This transforms the entire energy of your spiritual connection. You're no longer trying to bridge a gap between yourself and the divine. You're acknowledging the unity that already exists. The impact of this shift ripples through every area of your life because prayer isn't just something you do in designated spiritual moments. Prayer becomes your underlying relationship with reality itself. Behind the scenes of Jesus' ministry, behind every healing, every teaching, every interaction, was this fundamental consciousness of present divine reality. He didn't ask permission. He didn't beg for miracles. He simply recognized wholeness where others saw brokenness, abundance where others perceived lack, divine presence where others experienced absence. And when he said, "Follow me," he was inviting you into this same consciousness, this same way of perceiving and interacting with reality. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring how this transformed prayer consciousness manifests in practical healing and the restoration of wholeness, because this is where the rubber meets the road, where these insights move from abstract understanding to concrete transformation in your lived experience. If you've started to notice your own prayers shifting from asking to recognizing, write in the comments, "My prayers are transforming." When we examine how Jesus approached healing, we discover the practical power of what it truly means to follow his consciousness in real-world situations. This is where the transformation moves, from abstract spiritual concept to tangible impact in people's lives. Jesus never begged for miracles. He never pleaded with some distant deity to intervene and fix what was broken. He simply recognized wholeness where others saw only brokenness. He acknowledged divine presence where others perceived only absence and limitation. This is the hidden secret behind every authentic healing that occurs on the spiritual path, and it's something most people completely miss. Following Jesus means learning to see with his vision, developing the ability to recognize divine presence in every situation, regardless of what the surface circumstances appear to be. Where this presence is truly acknowledged, not just intellectually but in the depths of your consciousness, wholeness naturally expresses itself. It's not about forcing change or manipulating energy. It's about removing the mental barriers that obscure the divine reality that's already present. Think about the profound shift in mindset this requires. Most healing approaches operate from the assumption that something is fundamentally wrong and needs to be fixed. But Jesus demonstrated a different consciousness entirely. He saw through the appearance to the underlying divine reality. And when he invited you to follow him, he was inviting you to develop this same vision, this same capacity to recognize what's truly present beneath the surface of temporary conditions. This understanding reveals something even more revolutionary about the journey itself. Following Jesus reveals that divine qualities like wisdom, peace, wholeness, and abundance aren't something distant you must earn through decades of spiritual practice or years of devoted effort. They're your inheritance through the relationship he demonstrated. Just as a child naturally inherits characteristics and resources from their parents without having to work for them or prove they're worthy, you have access to divine wisdom, peace, and abundance through following the consciousness Jesus embodied. If you found value in what we explored today, gently tap that like button. It creates a connection that helps others who are searching for exactly this understanding to find these teachings when they need them most. This completely shifts your entire journey from seeking to receiving, from striving to allowing. The transformation in how you approach life becomes evident in every decision you make. Instead of constantly reaching for qualities you believe you lack, you start recognizing and allowing the expression of qualities you already possess through your divine inheritance. Behind the scenes of this shift is a fundamental change in identity. You stop seeing yourself as a spiritual orphan begging for scraps. and start recognizing yourself as an heir with full access to the divine treasury. The impact of this revelation ripples through every area of your life. Your approach to challenges transforms because you're not facing them from poverty of spirit, but from the richness of your divine inheritance. Your relationships shift because you're not seeking completion in others, but expressing the wholeness you recognize within yourself. Your sense of purpose clarifies because you're not trying to earn your place in the cosmic order, but simply allowing your divine nature to express through your unique circumstances. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring how you can practically anchor this consciousness in your daily experience, because understanding these principles intellectually is one thing, but living from them consistently is where the real transformation happens in your moment-to-moment existence. If this understanding of inheritance rather than achievement is resonating with you, write in the comments, "I'm receiving, not earning." The practical application of this understanding is where everything comes together, where these insights move from inspiring concepts to lived reality. True. Following requires more than intellectual understanding. It requires daily anchoring of this consciousness in your actual experience. Let me share something simple yet profound that can transform how you begin each day and navigate every moment. Each morning, before the demands of the day pull you in 100 different directions, sit quietly for just a few minutes and acknowledge this truth. I am following the Christ path right now. Divine consciousness is expressing through me as I walk this journey. This isn't about creating something new or manufacturing spiritual experiences. It's recognizing what already is as you follow. You're not trying to generate spiritual qualities through effort or willpower. You're simply acknowledging the reality that exists beneath the appearance of limitation as you walk this sacred path. The transformation that happens through this simple practice is remarkable because it sets the tone for your entire day. You're not stepping into the day as a separate individual trying to navigate challenges alone. You're moving through your experience from the recognition that divine consciousness is expressing through every decision you make, every interaction you have, every challenge you face. Behind the scenes of this practice is a fundamental shift in how you hold yourself as you move through the world. But the real test of this understanding comes not in quiet morning moments, but in the midst of daily challenges when life pushes against you and circumstances seem to resist your intentions. Throughout your day, you'll inevitably encounter moments when you feel yourself struggling against situations, fighting circumstances, trying to force outcomes through sheer human willpower. These are the precise moments when the practice deepens and the journey becomes real. When you notice yourself in that struggle, pause for just a breath and acknowledge, divine intelligence is leading this journey right now. Following Jesus means trusting the wisdom guiding your path even when you can't see the destination, even when the next step isn't clear, even when everything seems uncertain. This simple recognition creates a remarkable shift in your entire nervous system and mental state. You physically feel yourself releasing the weight of trying to control everything through limited human will and perspective. The impact of this practice becomes evident almost immediately. Decisions that seemed impossible suddenly have clarity. Solutions appear that you couldn't see when you were forcing and striving. Resources show up that weren't visible from the contracted state of struggle. This isn't magic or wishful thinking. It's the natural result of allowing divine guidance to direct your steps, instead of insisting that your limited human perspective has all the answers. This is what it means to truly follow. You're not abandoning responsibility or becoming passive. You're shifting from anxious control to confident trust, from isolated effort to collaborative flow with divine intelligence. The mindset transformation here is subtle but profound. You're making decisions and taking action, but from a completely different foundation, from recognition of guidance, rather than from fear of making mistakes. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring what happens when you sustain this consciousness over time, because following isn't just about individual moments of recognition, but about developing a sustained way of being that transforms from the inside out how you experience and interact with all of life. If you've experienced that shift from struggling to allowing in your own journey, write in the comments, "Divine intelligence guides me." When you sustain this consciousness over time, when following becomes not just occasional practice, but your fundamental way of being, you discover something profound about the nature of reality itself. To follow Jesus authentically means to learn to live from cause, rather than merely reacting to effects. This is perhaps one of the most revolutionary aspects of his entire teaching, and it's something most people never grasp because they're too caught up in the surface level of existence. Jesus demonstrated living from divine consciousness that creates reality rather than being victimized by circumstances. He didn't react to conditions as though they had power over him. He didn't allow external situations to dictate his internal state or determine his responses. Instead, he lived from a deeper creative principle, from the consciousness that shapes reality rather than being shaped by it. When you truly follow this example, your entire relationship with life transforms at the most fundamental level. You stop constantly reacting to outer conditions as though they're the ultimate reality determining your experience. You start living from the creative principle that shapes those conditions. This shift transforms you from victim to conscious, co-creator with the divine. The decisions you make from this place have a completely different quality and impact because they're emerging from cause rather than scrambling to manage effects. Behind the scenes of this transformation is a profound recognition that consciousness precedes form, that your internal state shapes your external experience far more than external circumstances determine your internal state. Think about how most people navigate life. They wake up and immediately start reacting. They check their phone and react to messages. They look at their bank account and react to numbers. They encounter situations throughout the day and spend their entire existence in reactive mode, bouncing from one external stimulus to another like a pinball. But following Jesus invites you into a radically different way of being, where you're living from the creative consciousness that he demonstrated, where you're responding from divine intelligence rather than reacting from human fear. As you genuinely follow the path Jesus illuminated, something remarkable begins to unfold in your lived experience. The spiritual journey that once felt like an uphill battle, like constant effort and struggle and striving, transforms into a natural expression of your divine nature. You begin experiencing life not as a separate human struggling to reach some distant goal or achieve some future spiritual state, but as divine expression temporarily having a human experience. This shift in perspective changes absolutely everything about how you meet each moment. Following Jesus doesn't make life perfect or problem-free. Challenges still arise, difficulties still appear, but it fundamentally changes how you experience every moment, shifting you from wholeness rather than lack, from trust rather than fear, from creative participation rather than defensive reaction. The transformation happens not in your circumstances, but in your consciousness. And that consciousness shift then gradually begins to reshape your circumstances from the inside out. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring what this ultimately means for your entire sense of identity and purpose. Because when you truly grasp what Jesus meant by "follow me," you discover something about yourself that changes not just how you act, but who you understand yourself to be at the deepest level of your being. If you're experiencing this shift from reactive to creative in your own life, Write in the comments, living from cause, not effect. This journey of truly understanding what Jesus meant by follow me is one of the most transformative revelations you can experience in your spiritual life. When you recognize that he wasn't calling you to external imitation, but to internal awakening, when you grasp that following means living from the same consciousness he embodied, everything shifts. You stop being a spiritual seeker, desperately chasing something outside yourself, and start being a conscious expresser of the divine nature that's always been within you. I share these insights because I've witnessed how this understanding changes lives, how it transforms struggle into flow, how it shifts seeking into recognition. If this message resonated with you, if something stirred inside as we explored this together, I'd love to know you made it all the way to the end. Simply write in the comments, "I'm following from within." That way, I'll know this message found the right heart at the right time. And if you found value in what we explored today, gently tap that like button. It creates a connection that helps others who are searching for exactly this understanding to find these teachings when they need them most. Your engagement literally helps spread this message to hearts that are ready to hear it. If you're not already part of this community, I invite you to subscribe and join us on this journey of spiritual awakening. Each week, we dive deep into these profound truths that liberate us from limitation and reveal the divine consciousness that's available to all of us right now. There's a video right here that takes this understanding even deeper, exploring how living from this consciousness transforms your entire relationship with abundance and divine supply. Click and continue with me there, because what we've uncovered today is just the beginning of what's possible when you truly follow the path Jesus illuminated.